In today's video, we are on the A5 near to Rugby. Depending on what point you were driving along the A5 in this area, you could actually cross between 3 different counties in a very short space of time. Down the years, this particular area has seen a lot of activity for trucks, whilst in 1997 it saw an increase in train activity. But despite this area being at least 80 miles from the nearest sea, this place was actually an active area for submarine activity. There's also a brand new housing development just off the A5 with a very significant name for the area. So as ever, there's plenty to get our teeth into. Let's discuss it on the Trucker's Eye. If you're travelling south on the M6 or north on the M1, you'll see signs for Rugby. Rugby is a rather famous market town in Warwickshire. It might not surprise you to learn that Rugby is named after a rather famous sport.
Oh, great Scott!
Apparently the sport of rugby was invented by a young boy named William Webb Ellis. He was said to have been playing a game of football at a school when he picked the ball up and ran along with it. Had he have done this at my school during a game of football, he'd have been called a cheat and probably had his head kicked in. But back in 1823, when this supposedly happened, Webb Ellis was largely credited with creating the sport of rugby. Many people, however, say this is just sports folklore. The funny thing about this video is that most of the places we're going to feature are actually considered as being in Rugby. But if you look at this map, they aren't. You can quite clearly see the border around Rugby, whilst the places we're going to be talking about are in this vicinity. The first area of interest that we're going to come across is right here, on the A5. Most drivers driving along the A5 probably wouldn't even bat an eyelid as they pass through this area. And there's a very good reason for that. Let me explain. As you head south on the A5 from its junction with the A428, you'll be travelling away from Rugby along what was the old Roman road that was Watling Street. In a previous video about Cannock, we explained what Watling Street was. There'll be a link to that video at the end of this one. After a mile or so, you'll pass underneath the M6, and just beyond that you'll pass a small village on the left that most people have heard of. That village is called Catthorpe. Even though most people haven't been to the village of Catthorpe, you've certainly been through the Catthorpe interchange. The Catthorpe interchange being the place where 3 of Britain's most important roads meet. Those roads being the M6, the M1 and the A14. Interestingly enough, it's only a few more 100 metres along the A5 where another 3 places meet. Blink and you'll miss it. In fact, even keeping your eyes peeled, you probably wouldn't see it. Luckily, we can stop the footage and look at this bridge. Most people wouldn't even recognise this as a bridge, but it is at this place that 3 counties all meet together. This is known as a tri-point. I wonder if that's where they got the name for try in rugby. I doubt that, but it would have made a good story. The actual name of this area is Dow Bridge. The bridge that we pass across today was built in the 1930s. There has been a bridge of some description at this location since the Roman times, hence the old Roman road of Watling Street. It was also thought for a very long time that this was a Roman settlement area called Tripontium. Tripontium being Latin for a place of 3 bridges. From what I can gather, this drawing is of the second bridge that replaced the original bridge, the other 2 bridges in the area being a lot smaller. If you were to stand on the current bridge on the A5, heading south and look to the left, you would see the old 5-arch bridge. It's on the disused bridge that the 3 shire stone marking the junction of the 3 counties stands. This bridge is also Grade 2 listed, but despite that and its historical value, most people don't even know it's there. Tell me what you think. Should more effort be made to show this bridge and its significance? Just to clear something up, Tripontium, the Roman settlement that was thought to be a Dow Bridge, was actually discovered 1 mile further up the A5. As you can see in the video, we are travelling south on the A5 just prior to going underneath the M6. As far as I can make out, it was here on both sides of the A5 that the Roman settlement of Tripontium was discovered. Ironically, it's the truck stop on the left, according to Google Maps, that marks the spot of where Tripontium actually was. Excavation works were carried out between 1961 and 2006, and in 2005 these amazing remains of the bathhouses were excavated. I've yet to visit the Lutterworth truck stop, so if you've been there, do let me know in the comments if it's any good. Ironically, 1 mile further down the road, there was a truck stop, and it was good. Was being the operative word. Just about to come into view on the left hand side, you'll find a truck stop that back in 1989 was the place to be. For the last couple of years, as we'll explain very shortly, this signage on the A5 has been redundant. This site being a truck stop dates back as far as the 1970s when it was called Tubby's Truck Stop. For the past couple of years, it's only been operating as an Eddie Stobart depot. In 1988, the global petroleum firm BP bought both this Rugby site and its sister site at Penrith. They then spent a year redeveloping the site and opened it as a truck stop in 1989. Roll forwards to 2001 and BP sold the truck stop to Night Owl. It was early in the 2010s that Stobart took the truck stop over from Night Owl. Since taking over, Stobart have gone on to expand on both ends of the original truck stop. Come to the early 2020s and Stobart closed the place down as a truck stop altogether. Luckily enough, a new services had just been built on junction 1 of the M6 by Moto Hospitality. Whilst this did soften the blow as far as parking spaces for HGVs go in the area, there are now less spaces with the closure of the Rugby truck stop than there should have been. But whilst making this video, I've come across some information that we might find handy. According to this user, the site is now back open for outside hauliers to park on Snap. So I decided to take a look on the Snap website. For those of you who don't know what Snap is, amongst other things, they are generally a payment site for truckers that allows us truckers to pay for parking on accounts. And it does appear that the information is correct. On Snap's website you can clearly see that there are parking spaces available for hauliers. So that is some welcome news. Prior to being taken over by CULINA, Stobart amongst truckers were a bit of a Marmite company. You either liked them or you didn't. But there was one thing that they'd done really well. And unfortunately, whilst making this video, I found that was something else that had completely disappeared. This is the former Eddie Stobart warehouse at Crick. On the main, warehouses are just generic boring buildings, and this would be no exception, apart from this one building that we're looking at centre of camera. This was widely known as the Eddie Stobart Glasshouse, and in the glasshouse Stobart used to store something that was new, old and very old. The something old that Stobart stored, try saying that after a few beers, is this fully restored DAF 3600. After fulfilling its light service on the road and covering up to 2 million miles, the DAF was fully restored. The something very old that Stobart had in the glasshouse was this fully restored Seddon Atkinson Borderer truck. Until I viewed the glasshouse with my drone, I didn't realise that Stobart had actually moved out of this warehouse, and with it, the glasshouse too. Upon further investigation, I found pictures online of the DAF doing its rounds at truck shows. It also appears that this DAF is now kept at Appleton Thorn being Stobart's depot near to Warrington. But what happened to the Seddon Atkinson Borderer? Information online of its whereabouts seemed to be very sparse. If you know where it is, please pop it down in the comments below. The something new that Stobart used to keep in the glasshouse was always a new Volvo FH unit. These newer tractor units seem to be changed from time to time. One of Stobart's finest moments for me was when they named one of their trucks after fallen fusilier Lee Rigby. This truck was also displayed for a while in the glasshouse. Stobart were famous for putting names of girls on the front of their trucks. Lee Rigby's name was only the second ever male name to grace an Eddie Stobart truck. Just beyond the former Stobart warehouse, you'll find DIRFT. DIRFT stands for the Daventry International Rail Freight Terminal. And just like Rugby Truckstop isn't actually in Rugby, neither is DIRFT in Daventry. In fact, it's 8 miles away. A lot of the freight that arrives by train into DIRFT goes into this place just next door, which is a Tesco's distribution centre. One of the reasons for me including Deft in this video is that quite often on the internet, and even on this channel, you'll get a lot of people telling you to put more freight onto the railways. One of my former jobs involved picking up parts from Deft and taking it to Jaguar Land Rover in the Midlands. These parts travelled all the way from the eastern side of Germany. Shipping goods by train could take anywhere between 5 days and 2 weeks, whilst the same job being done by trucks had two other options: express overnight loads in 21 hours or a slightly longer service of up to 48 hours. Goods travelling by road are far quicker than goods travelling by trains. In this day and age, many supermarkets such as Tesco's use a system called just-in-time. Just-in-time is a widely used business practice. Basically, it means goods are arriving into the customer at the time they require them and shipped off again as soon as possible. For a supermarket like Tesco or Sainsbury's, who are also in this area, that means getting the goods out to their stores as quick as possible. We've just got one more destination to visit before we end this video. Some of the warehouses you are currently looking at in the video are built on what was part of a site for something historic. This site we're going to be looking at actually stood on both sides of the A5. We'll only be needing to travel a few hundred metres along the A5 in a northbound direction to see some of the remains of what was on this historic site. Let's get back on the ground and get over there. So just what are these massive concrete blocks doing in a field at the side of the A5? Well, prior to 2007, if you were driving anywhere near the Catthorpe interchange or junction 18 of the M1, you might have noticed these huge antennas. These huge antennas were part of a site that made up Rugby radio station.
Just tell us what's number one.
Now, you know I can't do that before the chart rundown, mate. I'd be thrown out of the DJ's union.
Rugby radio station certainly wasn't that type of radio station. Rugby radio station was actually a government facility, having opened in 1926. During the 1950s, it was the largest radio transmitting station in the whole wide world. Some of the masts on the site were up to 250 metres tall and could be seen from at least 20 miles away. Some of the antennas were VLF transmitters, VLF standing for very low frequency. This site enabled the British to send signals around the globe. VLF signals were also able to penetrate through water. There's a popular view that even during the Falklands War, communications were sent to British submarines from this very radio station. One theory that is bandied about is that this is where the signal was sent from to the British submarine HMS Conqueror, which sank the Argentinian ship General Belgrano, which led to the deaths of 323 Argentinian sailors. Having been decommissioned in 2003, 8 of the 250 metre tall masts were destroyed in 2004. The 4 remaining masts were then destroyed in 2007. The main building at Rugby radio station is still there to this very day. These days, however, it fills a new purpose as a school. The name of the school is also the name of the new housing development nearby. Having been built on the land that was formerly the radio station, they named the new village Hulton. Hulton being a place in Maine in the USA, and the location of the first transatlantic phone call that was made from Rugby radio station back in 1927. It's time to hit the road again. Who knows where we'll end up in the next video. In the meantime, I do hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, then please give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel already, then please consider doing so. We also do love to read all of your comments in the comments section. Do you remember driving down the M1 between junctions 19 and 18 and seeing this massive radio station? Also, I'd love to hear your memories of the BP Truckstops that were around the UK. And just where is Stobart's Said Atkinson? I'll see you all next time. One the truckers eye!